everyone, welcome back to Italian Cinema Night here on the Bad Movie Night channel, and tonight we have returned with another very interesting Gothic film.
Yes, we have. The night Evelyn came out of the grave.
From 1971, directed again by Emilio Miraglia, who we talked about before because he did The Red Queen Kills 7 Times.
We can go through some of this plot because there's a lot of plot here.
Yeah, you want me to give like a little plot breakdown?
Break it down.
All right. So basically we have a rich, mentally unstable man, played by Anthony Steffen, is obsessed with his deceased wife. He is tormented by the memories of her cheating on him on the castle grounds. He invites sex workers to the family castle who look like her for a game of deadly S&M. He eventually falls for a beautiful girl played by Maria Malfatti. He then decides to marry her as an attempt to move on, or in some repetition of that, but she does seem to not have his best interests at heart, as we slowly learn. Quite a movie.
And then the movie ends with some madness.
A classic genre way, right?
Yeah. So I enjoyed this movie. I had a fun time. Mm-hmm. I think this movie is silly as hell for the most part, but in between its silliness, there is masterfulness in some of the craft.
Yes.
Some of the camera work is really good. The music is really good. The music is the same guy who did The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, I believe.
Yeah, Bruno Nicolai.
But this seemed more like a horror-y kind of soundtrack and less of a Giallo one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of string and organ stuff that I really like.
Yeah, there's some like falsetto singing. Some of the singing parts sounded really familiar to me, but I think they're just kind of reminiscent of spaghetti western kind of sounding soundtracks. And I kept thinking like, is this music from another movie? Maybe it is, you know?
It could be. There's the one track I really liked when Lord Cunningham, the main guy, is like wandering through the forest at night looking for Evelyn because he's haunted by her. And there's like this like twangy guitar thing that's really adds a lot of mood and stuff. I thought that I really enjoyed the soundtrack to this, I guess.
It's cool. Yeah, so our main character, Lord Cunningham, hard to like.
I think like almost all the characters in this movie are generally hard to like, unless you like naked women. Like, there's a lot of that.
There is.
But the main characters are like not likable people, especially Lord Cunningham, who's set up at the opening as is basically a killer.
Yeah, and an abuser of women in some ways. Like, let's talk about a little bit about the opening. So, it's revealed that the very, very opening, it's revealed that he was in a mental hospital or mental institute, and he's trying to kind of escaping. There's this cool chase scene at the beginning of the movie, which I thought was pretty cool. There were some beautiful shots, and they also did this thing where they put like glass over the lens to make it seem like he's foggy or if he's like drugged up, which I thought was kind of cool.
I think that was supposed to be drugged. By the end of the movie, I think that's what it was supposed to imply.
But it also just implies to his mental state being on edge and kind of going off the rails. So he's bringing a woman to his castle to seduce her, and you're kind of like walked through this castle that's like falling apart, and like there's crap everywhere, and it's very representative of him falling apart, like his inner mind. And then he goes into like this one room that's like his bedroom, and it's like 1970s beautiful, lush, everything. And then like the mood shifts completely. And I think that's kind of like that's kind of where his character is at. He's kind of on like this two scales where he's going crazy off the rails, or he's like this lord of this manor and this wealthy man.
Yeah, it parallels him for sure. And there's those moments where he just switches on a dime and becomes super violent. But a lot of times he does hold like a normal, like he looks like a normal person. Yeah, I think you're right about like the crumbling nature of the castle is kind of like a peek into his psyche in some ways.
Yeah. And with his character progressing later into the movie, it's revealed there's like a ruse being played on him. And it kind of leaves it up in the air whether or not he had murdered some of these women. At least that's some of the kind of stuff that I found when reading about this. I didn't really get that when I watched it. I don't know about you, because I think it was an attempt to like make you feel better about how crummy of a person he was, but I don't think it was quite successful.
I feel like that's an afterthought, like to justify the fact that the hero at the end of the movie is also the same guy who was killing all the women throughout the movie. Like,
it's such a weird twist of story.
Because at the end of the movie, there's like so much crap going on, dudes falling in pools and everything, and our hero guy shows up, and then the movie rolls the credits right away, and I'm like, yes! And then I'm like, wait a second, he just killed all these women like a half an hour ago, so why is he the hero?
It's so wild.
But you might be right, like there is moments where they're like gaslighting him, especially with Evelyn, his dead wife, and she does come out of the grave. Like the name of the movie is there's a scene that's literally that. Which was really cool. And during that scene, he has the glossy vision as well, I think because he was drugged. And
some of that stuff felt like Mario Bava-esque, like Kill Baby Kill.
Yes.
Like very Gothic-y.
Yes, that did, yes, for sure. When I finished the movie, I went back to the beginning because I remembered a dude escaping from the mental hospital, and I didn't realize it was the main guy. So I went back and watched it, and I was like, wait a second, maybe this is because, and this is plot-heavy stuff I'm talking about, but like at the end of the movie, he's supposed to be in a mental hospital, and then he shows up. So I thought maybe that scene from the beginning was actually like him escaping, and was supposed to be, the timeline was supposed to be near the end of the movie.
Well, that could be.
But I don't know, because he gets caught. So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty wild, and I don't know. It's hard to get past these scenes of like just like hating him as the main character, because he's constantly bringing these women back and like whipping them and torturing them, and in a very like you think it's gonna turn into like like a
like an S&M kind of like.
But it's really, he's just abusing them because he's like reliving like trauma that he wanted to inflict on his wife. It's crazy.
Yeah, every woman in this movie, he doesn't, like even the woman he ends up marrying, now he didn't have much of a long relationship with her because he literally met her the night before and the next day they're married. But like there's some moments in this movie where like he is married and it seems like he's getting into a normal place. He's not having the urges. He's not seeing Evelyn. And then they gaslight him a little bit, and he just automatically, he's like starts beating her.
Yeah.
Because I guess he just doesn't like see any of these people as in any sort of value or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just, it was so traumatic, him catching her cheating, that it's just like, it's like splitting his psyche a little bit. Like they keep cutting back to this really great sequence of Evelyn running through the woods to like her lover in slow motion, and it's really artistically shot well, and like very like dream-esque, which you get a lot of scenes like that. But the other thing that it reminded me of, which I thought was really funny, I went back and looked it up. There's this movie from the same year called A Fistful of Dynamite, or Docusucker. It's like a famous Sergio Leone Western. But there's this great scene in it. They do the same thing. They replay this like really memorable scene of like the family before they blow up in a car or something. It's shot in slow-mo like that with like this singing, whispery music over top of.
Oh, really?
It's like exactly the same kind of formula, and I thought that was really interesting that they came out the same year, because that's instantly where I thought he got the idea from doing that scene. But it was cool. I like the way they do these dream scenes in this movie. I thought it was very dreamy through a lot of it.
Yeah, I think like I said, there is a lot of stuff to like about this movie, but mostly not the plot, at least for me. I mean, I think the premise sounds cool. A guy being haunted by his dead wife, and he's killing and taking out this stuff on these women. But the plot moves along and doesn't. It gets rid of all the details that you kind of focus on, or at least I did. Like he decides to get married, so he does like that day, and then all of a sudden they're married. He has like all these people
like maids.
Maids, and they all look the same. There's like weird things like that,
and
it just becomes super silly. And
the whole thing with like the red wig, and no one could be in the house with the red wig because everyone had red hair, and all the women he picks up have red hair, like Erica, what's her name, who's in this? Erica Blank, who apparently is like a famous genre actress, is in this, and he goes to like a burlesque club, to see her perform in this like amazing sequence where she comes out of a coffin. Probably one of the best parts about this movie, or just like things like that.
Cool,
and it's very stylized. It kind of felt like a Tarantino kind of scene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I kind of see that. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of style to this movie for sure, and the settings are awesome. Like they have that old Gothic-y manor castle type thing, and it looks so cool.
It's very cool.
There's a lot of great like just interior stuff as well. Like all the sets are awesome.
The design of the sets is amazing.
Yeah.
I was reading this thing about the production designer. Like they rented that castle and then made it look run down, like beat it down to make it look like garbage, and then the owner of the castle found out and got really mad when he saw that they like ruined his castle for the movie. It's like, that's pretty funny.
If you can afford a castle, you can get it fixed up.
Right? But apparently it's like a really beautiful castle, and they just like made it look like garbage for the haunted aesthetic, which I thought was cool.
The movie is mostly horror, like Gothic-y horror, but then about like an hour into the movie, after he gets married, it does have those giallo moments where you see like some mystery start to unfold and people getting murdered, and you're not sure who it is at that point. You're not supposed to be sure, at least. And that's kind of the more giallo stuff. But I did like the Gothic, like just the Gothic nature as well. Like it all came together with that, at least all the visuals.
Yeah, and the atmosphere of like running around on the grounds at night, and all the different characters, like the gardener. They have like foxes on, I guess for fox hunting. They have a cage of foxes. It's kind of weird. Stuff like that. And then there's like the old crypt that no one's allowed in, but it's opened up again.
All these movies have an old crypt.
I know, it's so cool though.
It's so cool.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So, what did you think about the glass of milk that he has before bed? What was that about?
No, thank you. No, so disgusting. Some people drink warm glasses of milk to go to bed.
Yeah.
Makes them sleepy.
I guess so.
Look, when you're murdering a bunch of women in your sex dungeon, you need something to relax you, I guess.
Cut the edge off, right?
This movie is super sleazy.
Yeah, it is.
And I'm not saying I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying be aware that it's very sleazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nudity.
It is.
The torture stuff is like sort of, it's kind of silly. Like some of those scenes where they're like in this torture dungeon, it starts to look like, I don't know, like a Scooby-Doo type thing, but like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's also silly. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not scary but.
Yeah, it's.
I don't know.
It runs into a little bit of that, but yeah, super sleazy. Definitely on the sleazier side. Interesting, like, it's such an interesting formula of like writing structure. I just like. I wouldn't say it quite works because you have to like hold on. I mean, the end's pretty wild. I guess we should talk about the end. It's revealed that his friend that he's been with a long time is in cahoots with his wife, his new wife, and then Erica Blank's character shows up, who's the burlesque performer, and they get into like this knife fight, which is really violent, and mainly because she's drugged by wine, and it just like goes off the rails from there. He goes upstairs and there's a pool fight.
It's like. That guy, like, it feels like he had it planned that the two women would fight and die, but it also feels like it's random, so it couldn't have been planned. And then, like, some of his plan falls apart because people show up and blah, blah, blah. It just keeps, like, compounding on its ridiculousness.
It's just like...
And to the point where you're like, wait a second, what is... And then they're like, fuck you, the credits. We're just doing the credits. We're done.
Yeah, it goes so fast. There's so much action, you don't question it, because it's so violent. Like, the knife death, and then the pool fight, which I guess is, like, there's... Is that sulfuric acid or something that's thrown in the pool? I wasn't even sure.
It said some sort of bag of acid, but that scene was actually interesting because it was like handheld.
Yeah.
And you don't see a lot of that. Like, it was very bouncy and like ran up to him as he's like choking him by the pool and stuff. It was pretty cool.
It's pretty wild, isn't it?
It's a very wild ending. Yeah, I would love to see the scripts for these movies because I feel like there's just a billion plot holes. But in the end, it's like it's not the draw a lot of times. Like this, it's the visuals and the style and the mood the movie puts you in.
Definitely.
That I kind of love. Not to say that these giallos and these Italian movies can have a really good plot.
Yeah.
It's just
and they do occasionally. Like I feel like the Red Queen Kills Seven Dies is a lot better of like a grounded plot, even though there is some ridiculousness with the sisters and stuff written in.
Yes, there's still convoluted stuff, but I think overall, like the Red Queen Kills Seven Times is a much better movie.
Yeah. For
the most part. Although, still, like I said, still had fun with this one.
Yeah.
I had fun.
I liked it. It was very weird and different and
it's very weird.
Super moody and gothic, which I liked a lot. Oh, interesting. So apparently there's like 9 different versions of this movie out there floating around.
Really?
Yeah, 9 different versions. And one you can like apparently watch like a really like edited down TV version like that's free on the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, sir. Do not give me that.
Right. You want to watch the what is this version? We got the Arrow version, which is like the full uncut original. That's what you want to see for sure.
Yeah. It's cool. I like it. And talking a little bit more about that main character, I guess like it does. There's like he's paying off people who know he's murdering. Like there's like this really big sense of entitlement and like he is rich. And so he doesn't value anybody else but himself.
Yeah.
And that's clear through all of his actions and what he does throughout the entire movie. So,
which makes sense for, I guess, the setup. You know, it's like he's an easy target because he's already on the edge and, like, he has lots of money, so.
Yeah, I do wish... And maybe if I watched it again, like you said, like that theory that, like, oh, actually this was all them playing with him and he wasn't actually murdering people. If that was the case, it would have been more of a twist. But it doesn't.
It doesn't
at least
sell
on my first
it well
viewing,
enough. Yeah.
It doesn't sit like that by the end. It just more or less feels like we're just kind of forgetting about all that stuff that he did.
Exactly. And I think if that was more the case, you could feel better about the way the movie goes.
Well, yeah, I think it would have been more clever, or it would have felt like the movie actually came to a conclusion instead of just rushing to the credits and not letting you think about anything. Yeah. So I don't know. But it is what it is. It's still a good time. I say check it out.
Check it out. I liked it. I think it's also just like such a weird narrative structure and way of telling a story that it just doesn't quite fit in a lot of ways, but it's still interesting because of that.
Yes.
So yeah.
Agreed.
Check it out. It was cool.
Cool. That's it.
All right. Catch you guys next time.